and welcome to this special episode on Anish Kapoor in India, presented by the British Council. I'm Sahar Zaman. After 15 long years, it has finally been possible to have his works here in the country of his origin. Well, the highlight of this show, of course, is an exclusive chat with the artist himself. But before we get to that, here's a brief look at his career, his international presence, and of course, his star appeal.
Anish Kapoor needs no introduction. He's one of the most sought-after artists internationally, with works that not just break all barriers, but create unheard concepts of utilizing space. Winner of the prestigious Turner Prize, his most popular being Cloudgate in Chicago, Sky Mirror in New York, and the Marsyas in London. And this is what it takes to install his works. No amount of space seems enough. Holding a show of his works can be a test of strength for the structure of any gallery. Born and brought up in Mumbai, he moved to London in the early 70s to pursue a higher education in art. He soon became part of the new British sculpture art scene in London, and success came early to him. The first works to get noticed were the mounds of brightly coloured pigment. These were inspired from what he had seen at temples in India. From that, he moved on to using quarried stone blocks that were hollowed in at the centre, adding rare depth to a hard substance like stone. But the mirror works took his art to a whole new level and a much wider audience. Red wax is his latest medium, where once again he plays with the idea of a non-object being moulded into a not-so-normal sculpture. What the art world is now looking forward to is the tower called the Orbit, that he has specially designed for the London Olympics 2012.
And here I am with the man himself, the master artist, the master creator, Anish Kapoor. We're just thrilled to bits to have you in India. Finally, after all these years, 15 long years, how do you feel?
Oh, I feel very honoured and pleased that we've been able to get the show here. You know, it's rather ambitious. We have some pretty big things in the show, so to bring them all the way and have it actually happen in this lovely space is
right. And I mean, I know for a fact that the struggle has been on, so to say, to get you here to India, to finally have your works here. Why do you think it really took that long?
Oh, you know, these things are complicated. Sculpture's hard to move. It's surely the right time, so that's why it happened.
Okay. What did you have in mind when you thought that these are the particular works I'm going to get to India?
Well, the show here, as you know, the show's in two parts.
Right.
In Bombay at Mehboob Studios, and then here in Delhi. I felt it was important in a way to have a certain retrospect to the show here. So the works, while it's not a retrospective, the works here are from the early 80s all the way through to more or less the present. Right. So, covering a 30-year span or so. Okay. And Bombay is quite different. The show is really quite different.
I believe they're larger installation works
indeed.
There. I know that this wouldn't, the very fact, this grand event that you are here in India, wouldn't have been really possible if the government would not have pitched in. What were the issues faced by the private galleries, but that they were struggling for so many years?
Well, I mean, these things are difficult to fund, as I've been saying. These works are big, so they're hard to move. I think it's very important that we've now got this. I'm very lucky to have this backing from the government, from the British Council, from private individuals, companies, and so on and so forth. So all that coming together has made this possible.
Just when I entered the gallery and I spoke to you before we started recording, that I literally gasped when I saw this particular work. It's just a different deal to finally see it. It just takes your breath away. And this is location specific. It's installed in the space itself, right?
What's happening here, in fact, is that this wall has a kind of cutout, a form, and as it moves backwards and forwards, it shapes the wax on this piece. Right. So it's continually moving and continually doing not very much actually, but it's a subtle change to the form. So it's making the form.
It's moving at a very slow speed, but still shaping it up.
Indeed.
Okay, and we're also very curious to know about the large team that you work with, because works are on such a large scale. Your studio space is very different to what a studio space of another artist would be who works with paint and brush.
Yes, well, sculpture is a complicated process. You know, it's very long, takes a long time, and I'm fortunate to have, you know, people that I've worked with for many years who kind of help me with the process. I mean, I think in the end, the important thing for an artist is to be free enough
Yeah.
in oneself to be properly inventive, and that's what the studio is about. You know, in a way, I try and see it as a laboratory, not as a place where we make things. We do make things there, but that's not really what it's about. It's a laboratory for experimentation. So I hope the show here, if you like, is a kind of laboratory as well, or a result of some of those experiments. You know, in science we understand this very well.
That's true.
Artists don't work in ways that are that different, in fact.
It's just that it's termed differently in an art
Indeed,
world.
indeed.
Right.
So, you know, here, one kind of experiment would be, if you like, a series of pigment works. There are two of them in the show, which, if you like, you know, made propositions about sculpture, that sculpture can be made out of this relative immaterial substance, and live in this strange area between being a very emphatic sort of announced object because it's made of color,
Yes.
and at the same time rather ephemeral. You know, if you
That's
touch it,
right.
it'll fall apart. So
That's
so
true. It
on
does
that-
look rather delicate.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, on the edge. And then from that, I went to, you know, a work like this, which is a block of stone, you know, carved. I've carved the interior,
Yes.
and you know, it's painted in a particular way that sort of gives the inside a sense that it's almost bigger than the outside, bigger than the container,
That's right.
heavier
It's-
than the
it's
container, deeper.
Yeah.
So that sense of the, if you like, the non-object, the object
Yes.
that isn't.
Anish, we're going to be talking a lot more about your works and your connection with India on this very special show presented by the British Council called Anish Kapoor in India in just a bit.
We went in for an agreement with the British on culture, which also took us 63 years. If you don't have a legal piece of paper, expenditure becomes a bit of a problem. So the legal piece of paper was finally got together in July 29th, if I'm not mistaken, during the visit of Prime Minister David Cameron. So it's been one of those historic handshakes that just happened.